take them all out for the big bounce off the bottom. That's a big shakeout. This is what happens to the bulls when they got that exuberance.
I can't even keep up with this tick-tock.
All right, we're in bear market. We told you people not to get involved in that. Whoa, look at that.
Good evening, stock traders, and welcome to Stock Traders Talk Radio, here on a beautiful Monday night, April the 2nd, 2012. I am your host, STT. Joining me on my program tonight is Mr. Kopp.
Hey, what's going on, STT? How are you?
I am fantastic, sir. How about yourself?
Oh, excellent. Absolutely excellent.
That's good to hear. Also, joining us on the program tonight is Fakia.
Hello, SCT, Mr. Kopp. How you guys doing tonight?
I am good, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing good.
Back holding up?
Yep, looking forward to another spotlight with Kopp that goes boom.
Goes boom. All right. We are taking callers on tonight's show. The phone number to call in at is 347-215-7181. Tonight we have planned a stock spotlight for everybody. Doing tonight's stock spotlight is Mr. Kopp. Mr. Kopp, take it away, sir.
Hey, thanks there, STT. The one we're going to do tonight, this one's going to be slightly a challenge, and we picked it for a lot of reasons. It's Tactical Air Defense Service, Inc., TADF. That's Tactical Air Defense Services, Inc., TADF. Now, basically, stock had a huge pop today, up 83%, closed at 0.0011, and volume out of the blue of 85 million. A lot of players run into the stock today, and, it was a very, very quiet there for a while in this world. We played this stock, I'd say, probably back in, 2009 and 2010, back when it was between 3 and 5 cents. And kind of wrote it down a little bit, flipped it probably a good 3 or 4 times. And it's been very good to us. And then, of course, like anything else, shares come into the market, supply and demand changes, and you just kind of run away from it. Bottom line, they come out with news today. So let me give you exactly what they had. Tactical Air Defense Services, Inc., TADF, an aerospace defense services contract that offers tactical aviation services, aerial refueling, aircraft maintenance, and other aerospace defense services to the United States and foreign military and agencies, is pleased to announce that the Embraer 314 Super Tucano aircraft, the Super Tucano, in which it has an interest through a services agreement with Tactical Air Support, Inc., has successfully flown on its first revenue-producing contract. Despite a delay of many months due to unforeseen weapons clearance and maintenance requirements, all of which have been resolved, the Super Tucano was successfully flown on contract providing training support for the U.S. Department of Defense. Because of positive feedback and strong demand for the Super Tucano, an aircraft which adds a level of capability and sophistication that no other commercial provider can deliver, we believe this initial detachment in support of military training will be one of many. But because it is an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, IDIQ contract, and I'll kind of explain that a little later, we cannot yet provide a fixed dollar amount for the contract. The Embraer 314 Super Tucano is a specialty military aircraft renowned for its capability in counterinsurgency and air-to-ground bombing, and is one of its kind offered in the U.S. through a commercial aerospace defense service contractor. Alex C. Corbett, CEO of TADF, stated, "We are extremely pleased to announce that the Super Tucano has flown on its first military contract and is producing its first revenue for TADF after very frustrating and unanticipated delays. The Super Tucano is truly an exceptional aircraft with outstanding capabilities that no other commercial provider can offer, and we believe the aircraft will now be able to generate a steady flow of revenue for the company." And then basically goes through, talk to the IR. The main IR for this company is Gerald Keefe, the WSR Group, and their phone number is 772-219-7525 or ir@thewsrgroup.com. I did try contacting them. I left a message with them. I also called the company with the 4 phone numbers I had, and I did get a receptionist of some form that was basically going to pass on my phone number and all that. However, they didn't call me. Would have preferred that route. So let me give you a couple of key things here. Now, this very checkered history with this company, and I'm sure a lot of shareholders that are actually holding the stock or have been in it and believe in it and those type of things probably don't want me to talk about this, but, it is the lay of the land, and you just got to say what it is. Very dilutive shares, a lot of debt over the course of time trying to get to this point. Now, if you remember correctly, back in 2010, the big thing about this was, you name it. You can talk CIA, KGB, United States Marine Corps pilots, academy grads, everything you could possibly imagine, generals on the board. A whole bunch of stuff. And I would just say this, being one of them, that a lot of what happened or didn't happen, and Mr. Fear and those type of things, didn't do well for anybody, nor the company, and it really didn't do well for the shareholders. There are many people that were stuck in this stock at 3 cents all the way down, and had to make a decision, and that decision was pretty simple: sell for a gigantic loss, average down to minimize that loss, or just hold. And quite frankly, a lot of people held the stock and they rode it all the way down to the trips, and that was a long process and painful process. So I'm sure if you go look on the boards and message boards, there's some angry shareholders, and there's some that that are in the belief stage and those type of things. It is what it is. One thing about aeronautics and those type of things that they're talking about, the Aerospace Defense Services contractor, is, aerial refueling, aircraft maintenance. There was an IL-78, and basically it was an old Russian bomber, is really what it was. And I've actually done cargo ops on those, and they're pretty intense aircraft, pretty big. And they were able to get one of them. However, I believe that's in dispute I'd like to say in the state of Michigan, and is I would say grounded to a degree. Now I kind of what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump you right to the iBox first. And you guys know we use Investors Hub. It gives you all the different things that you want to see with it, and it gives you the website, different quotes, different information. Now the share structure. Now the share structure is a very unique one in the sense that it's a 6 billion authorized share structure. Currently 3,435,000,000 on the outstanding, and 774 million on the float. Now I'm taking this from the SEC 10Q dated September 30th, 2011, and I will come back to that. So it's got the pictures of the aircraft and those type of things for the Super Tucano, mainly used for training and a lot of different things that they have. It's unique to see the pictures that they have here, and the DD that they actually have in the iBox is pretty impressive. A lot of videos, different things over the time. A lot of real good reports on, where it is, what's going on with the company, and all of that from what they could get. Now, a lot of them dug deep to, differentiate who's who in the zoo, and where the CEO came from, where the pilots came from, and all those type of things. And I'll get into some of that as well. All right, so next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to jump over to OTCmarkets.com. Okay, that is OTCmarkets.com. In the ticker area, you type in TADF, And first thing we're going to pull up the company info. All right, now it has contact information in 123 West 9 Lane, Suite 517, Carson City, Nevada. They're actually down in the Miami West Palm Beach area is actually where they are. And you have the website, which is www.tads-usa.com. So it's TADS, Tactical Air Defense Services, Inc., and basically gives you a whole bunch of things about different aircraft, the MiGs, F-16s, and all that other stuff, A-4 Skyhawk and L-39, F-16 fighter, future aircraft, and those type of things. I don't believe many of these are in the arsenal. To have an F-16 or anything of that such is you'll be very, very connected and part of the DoD, to tell you the truth. So I would have to actually see that to believe that. But it is what it is. Now, clearly, they do have the a lot of contacts in the sense from a pilot standpoint that bring a lot to the table with that. All right, so back to the OTCmarkets.com. All right. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to jump to the actual share structure that they have there, and it matches up. However, it's even updated from the outstanding to November 21st, 2011. Shareholders of record have not been updated since 2009, which is 237. All right, so news. Like I said, they had news today. Haven't had news in a long time, so there's a lot of excited people. The thing that's interesting about this news of when it came out and what you saw, clearly the way it popped and the amount of people that came running to it, they knew it was coming. All right, so let's just call it for what it is. And, these are the type of things I like to look for to locate the money balls. And to do that, okay, I'm going to shift over to Amanda for you. Now, I use ddamanda.com. It's phenomenal. A lot of work went into this. Now, what I want to do is I want to basically kind of go back in time a little bit and see what we're talking about. And I'm going to go back all the way to, looks like January 20th, okay? 15 grand comes in the stock, 15 million, and it trades in the range of 0.009 to the 11. I'm not going to say the quads. I'm just going to say 9 to 11, okay? All right. Then about a week later, we're going to go to February 2nd. You get 20 grand come into the stock, trades between 8 and 11, 22 million, okay? And then the following day, 13 grand, 15 million in between the 8 and the 9. All right, so slightly coming down there a little bit, loses 13%. All right, then we jump again another week, 2/16, February 16th. 16 grand comes in the stock, 22 million shares between the 7 and the 8. All right, then you get the another week passes, noticing a little bit of a trend here. And in between there, it's only like 5 grand, 3 grand, some days $791, one day $384, like almost really quiet. So in the next week, which is 2/28, 17 grand runs into the stock, 23 million. Trades between the 7 and the 8. Okay, another week goes by, a little bit more than a week. I'd call it 8 trading days. 11 grand runs into the stock, another 19 million shares between the 5 and the 7. So now we're hitting the 5s here. The following day, 19 grand runs into the stock, 31 million shares trade. Now that's between the 5 and the 7. Now here's the funny part about this, okay? It did trade in the 5s before, and call it the bottom, call it whatever you want. But realize that that's more shares coming in the market. There's no doubt about that. Many people would have been eating that up all the way down on different levels based off of what was going on. All right, so I gave you the on March 14th and 15th, you get 11 grand, then another 19 grand for a total of about 50 million shares. Then it goes quiet again. 1 grand traded, 4 grand traded, 1 grand traded, and even on Friday, it was $1,600 traded, and it traded between the 5 and the 6. Now, the thing about it is this thing was loaded, absolutely loaded in between the 5, 6, and 7. Now, what I'm figuring, based off what I see, I'm averaging someplace around, I'm going to go with probably about 65 to 70 million shares loaded between the 5 and the 7. Okay? And you could tell it was very strategic over time, setting this up over time. There's no doubt about that, which, leads me to believe that not that somebody knew, but, they played it as if they knew that the 5 and 6 bounce between the 0.005 and the 0.006, that you were able to do some loads. And if you pull out the chart to a weekly, you'll be able to see the little spikes here and there, then nothing, then a spike here and there, especially between the 5 and the 6. So it was definitely primed for a run off the bottom. And then, of course, you get today's day, like we said, you get the 85 million that comes flying in, spikes right out of the gate. I didn't see any newsletters with it, so I'm going to assume that based off of the news, that's what actually drove it. And, the thing that's funny is the news was at, 7:57. So it was before the market opened. So you could tell this whole thing was, I would say, set up for success to a certain degree. She comes screaming out of the gate all the way to 10:30 in the morning, which is your normal pullback time, right around 10:15. Normally between 10 and 10:15 is when you don't want to be owning a stock on a run, because normally that's when either sanity comes into play, or that's when the buyers that want to sit on the bid are going to come in because they think they can get it cheaper, because they actually can. So it pulls back from the 16, trades down a little bit all the way to about 12:30, and then you get a sideways action from in between the 10, 11, and 12. It actually hit 9 right around 10:30 or 12:30 around lunch, which is a norm, and she held pretty good. Now, when you go to the tape, which is another big deal with that, what I don't know is I didn't actually watch this today. If this was a stock that I was watching, what I would have looked for is I want to see the tape doing double matches, okay, or T trades, and I want to see then the market maker try to drive it down. It did have a T trade at 1601 for 2 million shares, Form T, right, to close it at the 10, which, it was really low volume on the 11. You got a hit of, 1.5. But then, around 2:30, you had a 1.6 million bang at the 12, another 1.7 dumped at the 10, right? Then another bang for another million at the 1.2. So what you're seeing is you can tell based off what's actually happening there that a lot of different things were happening with tap to the ass, a bigger drop that was actually happening. Now, do I know if that was dumping today? I didn't actually see it, but looking at the different players that are normally on there, what I normally look for is VFIN. Now, over the course of I would say probably the last 4 months, VFIN's always a diluter. Now, let me digress here. Many people can put VFIN on the ask. Okay, so even retail, there's ways to do it. There's other, I don't want to get into that. So there's 2 possibilities here. One, retail that has multiple accounts that wash trade a little bit and then was dumping off the VFIN, making it look like it was there, then pulled it back as if VFIN went away to give the impression that the dilution's over. That's always a possibility. Very, very common. Or it could be that really the VFIN was there and institutional trades are actually dumping. Now, the irony to this whole situation is today's April 2nd, and on March 30th is when you actually had a filing. So now I'm going to jump back over to OTCmarkets.com, right? I'm on TADF. I'm going to jump to the filings. Now, we know that this company is in the stages of being able to make revenue. I mean, the PR basically told you we just got our aircraft first revenue piece, and pretty clear on the direction. So I'm not going to, go into how big this can be or how little this can be. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the players there per se, and I'll kind of go into a little bit of that. But they filed the NT10. It's really a 12B -25, and essentially they want to delay their financial filings. It's really, in essence, that's what they're saying. Okay, subject to annual report, semi-annual report, transition report on Form 10K, and then it basically goes, tells what it is, and state below the reason for the detail for the reason why Forms 10K of the transmission. There will be a delay in filing the company's annual report on the Form 10K for the period ending December 31st, 2011, because the company needs additional time to complete the report, and its auditors need additional time to review the company's financial statements for the period ending December 31st, 2011. Now, here's how I look at this in a couple ways. One, it can be a strategy and be utilized because of the timing of the delay of getting the aircraft. Now that they have that, many shareholders are pretty excited. I think they can start announcing different things that are happening. And you already know that the revenues aren't that big. I mean, they pretty much told you in the press release. So in essence, it doesn't bring limelight to exactly what's going on with the stock. So essentially another press release could come out, this is where we're going, this is the next step, more excitement, more joy, or, some power players coming in just loading and driving the stock. Very common stuff. You guys are seeing it all over the place. I can probably rattle off about 15 of them over the last 3 months that have done this exact same strategy, and it works. Okay, so, your guy at the helm there, the CEO, he's a Michigan grad. He knows his stuff a little bit. If I remember correctly, I think he basically created with Garcia and those boys back in the day with the created Sterling. So he knows the financial world and knows exactly what he's doing with this and how to leverage the company and the assets. So that's a huge advantage, believe it or not. You as a shareholder are probably sitting back going, okay, we haven't heard anything and all of that other type of stuff. But this guy definitely knows the game. Now, the question is this: is the game to sell shares or is the game to make revenues? I don't know that answer. I'm not the guy. But I do know, based off of what you're seeing from the load that happened on the 5, 6, and 7, and then the shares that changed out, which you expect, right? I mean, if you buy at 5 and you have an opportunity to sell at 10 or 11 for 120%, 150%, you damn well better sell. I mean, that's just foolish. You want to create as a long. If you're a long, you want every one of those shares to be sold at the next higher level, and then hopefully no more shares come into the market to where they're creating more of a supply for you. Now you want higher lows, higher highs. That's the idea. The concept of a stock going vertical or rocket on a staircase, from the trips all the way up to a penny without that flop is just, it will kill you, because anybody that's holding anywhere between 20 or 30 million shares could easily just destroy the stock on a run. No, so what when the players are run it, they want to flip it. That's the goal. And I don't mean they want to flip it. Potentially, they could be holding a huge lot. Who knows? But they want you to flip it. They want the people to sell for 100%. They want the people to sell for 200%, and then establish the fact that you have a new buyer that bought those 11, 12s, and 13s today. That's the goal. So basically, looking at this, the market maker wants 10. You're seeing a base of what potentially is going to be a 10, 9, 10, 11 area, depending on what actually happens tomorrow. And like I said, I don't know about the promotion piece. I don't know if that's actually happening. But I want to jump to the 10Q real quick. Now, the 10Q is for the quarter ending September 30th, 2011. Basically, it's one of those things you should always read, and I don't want to waste everybody's time with going through it. But the bottom line is very little in assets and extremely debt-ridden in paid-in capital and a lot of different things. So if you go through this and you actually look at it, they're pretty upside down in a lot of ways. Now, from a strategy and from an objectives and whatever business plan that they have, getting the aircraft and doing the certain things that they're getting ready to do, I don't know what all those different revenue streams really can be, okay? Now, when you're dealing with different things with the DOD and that, who knows how big those contracts could potentially be. And if you go to, here, let me just give you one here real quick. Okay, Acquisition Central. Basically, Acquisition Central is it's a FAR Council plan for retrospective analysis of existing rules and all those other type of things. It's really policy and regulation, and the reason why I'm telling you should go there is it'll give you a little idea of exactly what this goes. But if you go into this manual, you look in subpart 16.5. Okay, that's basically the chapter in the subpart. It goes into indefinite and delivery contracts. Now, if you're looking for something at 9 o'clock for you to go to bed and you don't want to have a QA manual that's sitting beside you, this is the next best thing. You will be asleep after paragraph 2. It's painful reading, and it's written like that, so it's it's a little bit of a lawyer talk, if you will, but it will give you the entire concept of how it is, where it talks about the different what that delivery contract needs, the policies, the procedures, and all those different things that they're referencing to. And, I'm not going to go into detail with it. Bottom line, there's a lot of stuff to it and how that everything works with the federal supply schedule and the program itself. So, the other key thing to know about that, if you, the 10 U.S. Code 230.4 Delta and Section 303K of the Federal Property and Administrative Services Act of 1949 gives you a whole bunch of stuff, okay? That's all I'm going to say about that because it's really quite boring. But essentially what they said in the PR is exactly this stuff, but shrunk down to one sentence. So if that makes sense, I'm glad you understand, because STT is probably listening like, what the hell is he talking about? All right, so the next thing I want to jump to is I want to go to the basically the U.S. Air Force backtracks. Now, this is where I think the speculation comes into this, where there's a gray area. Okay, the light air support contract is a big deal from an Air Force perspective. Now, the Air Force has been getting a really bad name over the course of the last, I'd say last 10 years, and not to down my brother, but the fact that, when there's a lot of rules when it comes to bidding, fair, the equality and fairness of allowing other companies to be able to have, a say or an opportunity to bid. So let me give you just a real quick thing here. On February 28th, just in 2012, in a surprise move, the U.S. Air Force revealed today that it will take corrective action on the Light Air Support LAS aircraft contract. The Air Force had earlier announced that the contract would be awarded to Sierra Nevada, the U.S. company that partnered with Brazilian aircraft manufacturer Embraer to offer the E-314 Super Tucano, right? That's our aircraft. Now, Hawker Beechcraft, which had promoted its own AT-6 in the bidding, formally protested the Air Force decision. The Air Force subsequently issued a temporary stop work order pending the decision by the Federal Claims Court as to whether the bidding process had been legally flawed. Now, in any of this stuff, when it comes to big money contracts, you can bet your rear there is some type of politician, Republican, Democrat, whatever the case is. If there's a factory in one of their areas where their constituents work there and they vote there, you can be rest assured that they're going to fight to get that. And in this case, it's Republican Mike Pompeo, and he's a Republican out of Kansas, whose district includes Wichita-based Hawker Beechcraft, and basically applauded the move. Recent Air Force decision station today, we celebrate the victory and the restoration of long-awaited fair and open competition. All right, and it goes on and on and on, and it talks about the generals and what they're doing and what they're saying. Bottom line, that allows some form of opportunity for this company. So kind of keep that in mind. All right. So the next thing I'm going to jump to is there's a lot of stuff out there when it comes to the history of TADF. In different things when it comes to TAC Air, Roland C. Thompson, all kinds of different things. And all I would ask you to do is read up on it, understand exactly what was going on with it, because there was a ton of moving pieces. Back in the day when this thing first came out, I think everybody, to include us, believed that this thing was going to be in dollars. I mean, just going nuts, big contracts, a lot of aircraft, a lot of different things. And, of course, like with anything else, sometimes that just doesn't work out. All right, so the next thing I'm going to jump to is, okay, hold on one second. All right, I'm jumping. I want to go to Arid, okay? Now, Arid has nothing to do with this company. except for one common thing. And I found this extremely odd. Okay? Aret, which is ARETE Industries, Inc., is an oil and mining company, right? That's what it does. Has zero to do with aerospace. But they do have one thing in common, and that is our man, our IR is the same IR. Now, they have a couple companies, and, there's a bunch of them. ARET, WDKA, CTDH, okay? Now, here's what I recommend to you. You write them down. ARET, WDKA, CTDH. Now, a lot of the filings are kind of very similar, right? And if you look in the flow of how companies operate, especially from the broker IR thing, they do not change very often, all right? And I do know that I went through and I checked the FINRA, and I wanted to see what Gerald's credentials were. Basically, Gerald Keith, great guy, knows his game, former broker back in the day, but he doesn't have an active broker account. It didn't look like I could find one in FINRA. But Aret also filed a Form 12B-25, which is the delay of the release of the Form 10K on the exact same day that this company did. Now, is that have anything to do with it? I don't know, but I know this: consistency, connecting dots, and seeing what things run. You can look at the other stock to see what's going on, or vice versa. I mean, the name of the game in the OTC is to grab the Momo, catch the plane, run it, and make sure you're selling at the top. All right. A lot of these different things, especially this company. Would I be the guy that's going to hold 20 million shares for the next 3 years? No, but that's the way I trade. Some of you who believe in the company and think it's going to the next level and all of that have that potential to do it. I just would have a little bit of fear when it comes to rolling over debentures and conversions based off the amount of shares that are not currently in the float, if you will. But that's a risk that you take whenever you invest. So just double check those stocks and just kind of back yourself up with that what's actually happening. Now the big thing is they came out of the dark, right? So out of the blue, we have the company that's doing all kinds of cool things, and we're here to actually start trading again. And to boot, you actually had a lot of the good people that came on there, as far as a lot of good traders. Now, me personally, I think the Gary Fears things is over, done with, been gone for a while. A lot of these people are very connected. If you looked at certain things, you can find it if you actually want it. I think Alexis is it's Casimir, by the way, if anybody want to know what that C is. Korbat Daskowicz. Now, Polish, right? In the game in the sense that has his own company, a couple other things where there's the short name, the address, and all kinds of other stuff. And I gave you the whole Sterling Financial Investment Group. I would go ahead and go into them a little bit. Boca Raton, of course, very commonplace for a lot of different things. Connect the dots, right? As soon as you hear Coconut Grove, Florida, the hair on the back of your neck should stand up, and you should say, "Ooh, let me go look at that." I don't know why. It just is what it is. So I'm going to jump over to tactical. I got about 20 links for this. The last thing I'm going to point out with General Charlie Searock, right? He back in the day, I'm not sure exactly when, but I remember it happening. He actually sued TADF. Now the aviation sports system, and I believe Gary Fears, and if I remember, it was Goldstein was involved, and who was the other guy? Begins with an R. Anybody remember? Ramsden, right? Joel Ramsden, that's right. And he won the judgment, right? I think it was in Texas and all that, but I'm not exactly sure how that whole thing ended up. Maybe they were able to do something. I just believe based off of the fact, here's where you're at. Why get the aircraft? Why continue? Why not? If you're going to be sued to that degree and your debt is upside down, the right answer would have been to end it, unless, of course, you still had a fighting chance to actually make a revenue stream. They didn't end it. Right? They came out of the blue today. Next thing you know, they're doing it. Now, that could be a couple of reasons. It could be that you have some gigantic holders of that stock at a very high price. I would go through the filings and look at that. So what normally happens in the OTC world, right? You get the third-party magic going on where somebody's going to convert over their shares, but when you look at what these people bought these shares at, and you got to look at the filings to check this stuff out, you're talking, 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents. You're talking some massive amount of money that was actually flowing there when they got in. Because like I said, a lot of people thought this thing was going to run, to the mega dollars, and it just didn't work out that way with, a lot of different issues that happen, and, it is what it is. All right, so back to the 10Q. Now, the 10Q, which was, what date did I tell you? September 30th, right? You go through that whole thing. You'll see the different pieces where, low on the revenues, high on the other end. And you go all the way down, and you could see different things where, and I would stop at the company's share information for Arrow has been retroactively restated to reflect the recapitalization transactions, including the exchange of common stock and common stock equivalents of Arrow for common stock and common stock equivalents of TADS based on the exchange ratio of 50-1. Okay, 50-1. So when you actually look at this, and you'll see the connection for the reverse acquisition, the consideration part to Arrow Group, where the assets consisted of, 14,989,000 shares of restricted common stock of TADS, constituting a majority of then outstanding common stock of TADS. And you can go through the whole thing. You'll see the money, how it flows, going concern of management. The accompanying consolidated financial statements have been prepared in conformity with accounting principles generally accepted by the United States of America. The company has incurred losses from operations since inception and has a significant working capital deficiency as of September 30th, 2011 of approximately, okay, grab your seat, $41,447,000. I will say that again. $41,447,000, right? And they have about 200,000. So way upside down, I mean, in a major way. So when you talk about the assets of Arrow and you assume certain contracts in exchange for the assumptions of TADS, there's a lot of people that are sitting on the sideline that bought into this company as private investors. Not just you, the shareholder that actually bought on the open market. There are some big heavy hitters that are sitting on the sideline here, probably stamping on the table going, okay, what you going to do? What are you going to do? Do I have to take this into my own hands and get third party? Because I'm sure that's the case, right? I mean, there's a significant amount of money actually here. Hence why potentially this is very borderline for me to call a money ball. And there's two more things I want to see with it. One, I want to see VFIN go away, and then I want to see some promoter compensation stuff happening out there. As soon as I see that, I would call a money ball on this thing, and they're going to try to drive the living crap out of it because they need to dump the stock. They need, and that's how I'm looking at this. Now, if you go through the different filings, you go through everything for the ASU 2011 to sale of stock. It's laden with a lot of stuff. Now, I want to talk about second quarter of 2011. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is normally everything is a year. All right, so let me take you back to April 1st, 2011. Okay, and this is where you will find in your probably page 12, it looks like, of your convertible debentures. On April 1st, 2011, the company issued a convertible debenture in the principal amount of $39,500,000 to Alexis himself. Very nice. Congratulations. On consideration for unpaid salary, right? He worked the job. He should get paid. Convertible debenture has a term of 3 years and interest rate at 12%. Okay? So, and full ratchet anti-dilution protection. This principal amount is convertible into 26 million shares of common stock at a conversion price of 15. Okay? Next one down is April 1st, 2011, is the company issued convertible debenture in the principal amount of $6,000 to Gary Fears Trust as consideration for loan to the company. And that also had a term of 3 years. Next one is April 1st, 2011, the company issued convertible debenture in the principal amount of $15,000 to Brad Hacker for a term of 3 years. And then the next one after that is $75,000 to Jamie Goldstein as a consideration for him. Convertible debenture has a term of 3 years at an interest rate of 12%. Okay. Now the company issued a convertible debenture in the third quarter for $39,000 to Alexis. So what you're seeing is that's how they're being paid in stock all over the place to be rolled over at a different time. Now, I'm sure if you go back in time a little bit and the retirement of any debt that possibly should be there, and then go into the issuance of common stock, okay, where in the second quarter, third quarter, and that's probably where I want to go, the third quarter of 2011, company issued 29 million shares of restricted common stock to John Brannigan in August of 2011 in consideration for conversion of convertible promissory with a principal amount of $32,000 and accrued interest of $5,000. So total consideration $37,000. And then there's a whole bunch of them. Okay, I'll bore you to live in death if we go into that. Now, one last thing is I want to talk about the designation of preferred stock. On April 25th, 2011, the company approved the certificate of designation to be filed with the Nevada Secretary of State, designating 1 million shares authorized but undesignated preferred stock at a Series A and 5 million shares of it authorized but undesignated preferred stock at Series B. And then it goes through the conversion rate of actually what happens, 12% interest and all that other regular stuff. And you'll be able to see a lot of different things that could be happening here as far as stock that's going to be coming out in the near term or already has. And you'll just have to go through that to look at all the other events and everything else. All right, I'm done with that. All right, back to my money ball. All right, notice the 1 week that keeps happening over the course of the fact between the 5s and the 6s that we're actually flipping out on the 0.005 to 0.006. And I said to you that I believe, someplace around 45 million, somewhere around there, to where that provided your base at the 10. That's what I'm looking at. Now, what I don't know is I don't know what was washed today, okay? And always assume that there's some shares that are washed because it just makes sense. And if you don't know what that means, imagine me and my buddy are two different places in the country. I have my trading account. He has his. I sell my shares at a low price. He buys them, right? And essentially what we did is I just moved 10 million. He bought 10 million, and then, he sells them. So essentially I sold the 10 million shares all over the place, and it made it look like 20 million. Real simple, right? Okay. And, all I got to do is clear cash. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but, in essence, that's one of the very common. Okay, back to the board, right? And this is where I'm going to end this. You saw the chart. You saw what's been happening on the 5 to 6, sideways, really getting beat down, loaded, and then a drive this morning. Okay, starts coming down till noon and then goes to the sideway action. The sideway action that you saw from noon until the close is a lot of indecision. What's going to happen? Is it real? What's happening? And then, when you saw VFIN as well as the big pops that were happening at the 10 vice the at the 12, right? So if you're selling 2 million at the 10 and somebody's only buying 100,000 at the 12, clearly you're not going to be the guy that's going to load up on the 12. You're going to wait to see what happens. So what I would do is watch the stock, watch what happens. If VFIN goes away, and then you see promoters come into the play, this thing's a money ball, and they're going to drive it. All right, and that's my take on TADF. And go out there, get green, make some money.
Wonderful. It's a lot of debt, though, huh?
What's that?
That was a lot of debt that you ran off there.
Yeah, I think everybody that's in this stock actually knows what they got and what happened with it. I think you have a lot of stuck people that were in this stock. There's no doubt about that. You remember this thing was pretty high. It was cranking there for a while, and it was going to be one of the next big thing. And then the other thing that was crazy about it, as those debentures, as people started leaving, because of the issues that they were having, they were converting all their stock. So you had third-party promotions happening all over the place on this thing, over the course of the last 2 years.
Right.
So.
Hey, Sif, you want to give us a chart on that one?
Sure. Let's check out the chart. I'm going to go ahead and start with a weekly. And, Cop pretty much said it himself, back in 2010, what a run it had. And what I'd like to look at on this weekly is what she did when she broke through that 50 MA, because you saw today on the weekly chart, that's what she hit, is that 50 MA and found her resistance, and what she did when she broke back below that 50 MA. So now we got to keep our eyes on that 50 MA, which is setting that 0016, which gives us a little resistance there. You got your 100 MA right above it at that 003, and then you got your 200 all the way up there at 0088. So keep your eyes on those. As for the slow stow, I like that. You got that thing pointing in the right direction, coming off the bottom, heading north. I like on your PPO that you've got all the way going back to, back in 2009, you've created a positive divergence. It's about ready to break in to the positive. It's a little bit ways on the weekly, breaking positive on the histogram, but it is crossing over and heading in the right direction. As for your RSI, it's back up at 53 now, so that's good. We want to see it get above that 53 and start running. You can see when it made that run back in 2010, the RSI got as high as 90. So that gives you a lot of room to go if that's the case, if it does that again. Now, I'm going to jump over real quick to a daily because it gives us a better eye of the support and the resistance. And again, on the daily you look, and you had that 200 MA that it hit today. It would have been nice to see it close above that. And you've seen that in a lot of stocks lately. When it gets above that 200 MA, we just saw it with HBRM the other day. We've seen it on a few NEOM. The list goes on and on. GDSM. When they break that 200 MA, the hounds of cash come running in, and you get what COP refers to as that money ball. So a break above that 200 MA, I believe in the money ball. If you go ahead and draw a line on, let's say, that last swing high back in May, and you drop it on the swing high in August and then the swing high in December, and you let those all rest, you can see that's pretty much right where she closed today. So it tried to create a breakout today, and it looks like she just held it. So I'm keeping my eye on that. As for your support, you can see this long consolidation going on here like Cop talked about. They just ate up those 5, 6, and 7s. So you got great support through there. I mean, a break below that, I think you see Quad City death zone again. As for the volume, you can't deny that. Like Cop said, 85 million, that's huge. The PPO, this is the one where it's about ready to break positive on the histogram. You see the money definitely coming in there, and like I said, going all the way back to that October where she started accumulating. You can see that nice positive divergence going on there. And same with on the slow stow, which is at 51, which is awesome on the daily. You want to see it hold that and hold this positive divergence that's going on. So great looking chart. I love that you got that 50, and also you've got that 100 down below you. They're both setting at 0008. So you got solid support right in there. So another great chart from Cop. Good spotlight, man. Looks like she could definitely make some people some money if she does what it looks like she wants to do.
Yeah, I think so too. There's some possibilities there, that's for sure.
All right, fantastic. Now, I was going to take a commercial break, but we only have 11 minutes left, and I wanted to get to what was hot on Investors Hub today. Let's start off with a high volume, not a big gainer. Our CEO interview from last night, AFPW, closed at 0013, up 1, up 8.3% on 43 million in volume. Siffy, you got a chart for me on that one. Siffy.
Damn, mute. I got the chart, though, boss.
There we go.
AFPW.
3 years of doing radio, we can't remember the mute button. Fantastic.
Hey, I'm trying to be polite and not
go ahead, rock it.
Listen to you.
Go.
Hear me crying about my sore back. So, but anyways, on this AFPW, looking good on the daily. You broke above that 50 MA, saying that the 50 MA is at 001. So I guess you're kind of resting right on it right now. You got that 100 MA at 002. The PPO is looking good. The volume came in like a beast today. Got to watch that slow stow. That's up at 86. No big deal. It can run over by it. RSI looking solid at 58.20. So everything's looking good. You got that 50 MA for your support now, and you also got a good point of reference, all that consolidation down in that, 001, 0008. So looking solid.
All right, now let's look at ATRN. Closed today at 0.1285, a change of 0.0207, up 19.2% with a little over 7 million in volume. ATRN, Siffy.
Okay, ATRN, what a beast this was. You see what a bounce that was called right here on the radio show, one of COP's spotlights back in the beginning of 2012 at 008. All the way up to 35, almost 36 cents. She's been traveling down ever since then. It looks like she's trying to find a little base here. Keep your eye on it, though, because if she breaks below this 12, I think it's in trouble. You got that 083. You saw that little dip, and it was bought. So you got that point of reference. So you got a nice little consolidation here. I don't like that your 100 is pointing down so straight south. You want to see that 50 get up through that 100 and that price per share get above that 50 as well. So keep your eye on it.
All right.
That's all I can say on that one.
Next is CBIS. Closed today at 0.1601. Up a little bit over 2 cents. For a percent change of 15.18%. Volume 43 million. Siffy.
Okay, this one is looking like a screamer. I mean, look back in 2012. Look at the straight up vertical line, which gives you a great support. You might want to call this a channel. You could call it an extending wedge, whatever you want to call it, but it has came off the bottom of the channel, and I'm getting that coming off that 2012 and then middle of February bottom, and then that last bottom we just saw. So looks like it's on the upstream. The PPO is looking solid. The volume came back in. RSI up in that power zone at 68. So CBIS is looking strong, and again, you got all that support down below. Looking at that 006. Or not 06, 08, 010, 012. So a lot of support. You got that 50 MA at 008. So keep your eye on that. That's a little bit spread, but I like all the indicators on this one.
All right. Next up is CYNX. Closed today at 0.0023, a change of 0009. For a percent change of 64.29% with a volume just about 87 million. Siffy.
Okay, I like that the RSI is holding above that 55 and pointing in the right direction. You got a nice little bottom formation. You call this a little wedge. Got that 200 MA up at that 004, and you got your 50 and your 100 below you for support, looking solid. I want to see that 50 come up through that 100 though, and get up underneath it. That volume, massive, just like you said, STT. The RSI looking solid down at 28, or not the RSI, the slow stow. Looks like it's heading in the right direction. And you got your PPO, what we always like to see, positive divergence all the way starting back in October. The price per share goes down, the PPO goes up. You got to love it. It's in the positive above the histogram and pointing north. Looking good.
All right, next up is DNAD. DNAD. Closed today at 0.0014, up 0003 for a percent change of 27.27%. Volume just a little under 20 million. Siffy.
Did you say ZNAD?
I absolutely did not.
What did you say?
I said DNAD. DNAD.
Oh, man. Well, good, because ZNAD doesn't exist.
Well,
DNAD, on the other hand, up 27.27%. Yeah, I like it. You got your slow stow all the way down at 2.08. So this thing is taking a beating. Like Mike said, look at that volume that came in today, and you saw it a couple days ago too. And might be some accumulation going on. You got your 50 MA all the way up at 002, so that's 100% gain all the way up to the 50 MA if it actually moved there. And then you got that 100 at 003 and that 200 at 005. So I would look, though, for your resistance. You can see where this thing absolutely pretty much traded sideways through that 006 to that 002 range. So I would look for a retest on that 002 on this one.
All right,
That's just me.
I normally wouldn't call this because of the volume it had, but I'm going to go with this because I want to hear the chart on it. DUSS, D-U-S-S, closed today at 0.002, change of 0008 for a percent change of 66.67%, but only 4.3 million in volume.
Well, the chart looks cool, man. Got that RSI poking its head up through that 50. We're always like that. I mean, you look on a long-term chart. Another thing that I like about this is your slow stow down at the bottom in the 30s. It's better than seeing it up in the 90s. You got volume coming into it. You know, like you said, 43 million, nothing huge. I mean, look back in September. Now that's volume. Let's get some of that rocking again. PPO, it's below the positive on the histogram, but it's pointing up, but it is still negative. You try to get through that 50 MA today. Didn't happen. That's at 002, so that's a little bit of resistance. You got, like I said, 003 for the 100 and the 200 on that. Now, one thing I do like about this, if you draw a line coming off that big swing high at 0018 and you put it on top of that last swing high in February, March, 0039, here's another one that looks like it's trying for the breakout. So keep your eyes on that. Drop your line on there, and when she breaks, it's a trigger.
All right. Next up, GTRL, Get Real USA. Closed today at 0.138, a change of 0.07, up 102.94% on 19.5 million in volume.
Wow. Boom.
That is big volume for a 13-cent stock.
Yeah, look at that volume candle right there. That's huge. This chart's nice, man. You can kind of see it come alive. It gapped up back in August, and it's been trading sideways. And now it looks like you got a nice little support line going on here. You've got your 20, you got your 100, and your 50 below it. Nice little gap up today. Got that RSI cracking up at 73, so moving into a nice little power zone. You can see it does its thing pretty dang high. This thing will run up into the 90s. You got your PPO, it's positive above the histogram and heading north, and same with that slow stow. It's at 40 or at 62 and 49 and looking good. Nice, solid, positive divergence going on this thing too, all the way back to that December 015.
Okay, a spotlight we did last week. HBRM closed today at 0.0126. A change of 0072, up 133.33% on a volume of 221 million. SIF.
Well, we charted this thing the night that COP did it, and what did we talk about? We talked about that 200 MA. And like we just talked about on a chart a couple seconds ago, when it breaks that 200 MA, the dogs of that cash hounds come in. And also we talked about that 50 crossing up through the 100. We'd love to see that happening. You saw that PPO hold the positive above the histogram. And you also saw, we talked about that RSI. It was a little, not the RSI, but the slow stow was a little high. It can run over bot. And same with that RSI. They're up there. Keep your eyes on it. Looking solid right now. You got good support running through. You can see that 005, 0047. Obviously, probably want to hold down that far, but that's the breakout point, guys. So good stuff. Nice.
All right. Fantastic stuff. All right. Don't forget to catch the morning show, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Stock Traders Talk Radio. From everybody here at Stock Traders Talk Radio to everybody out there in Stock Traders Talk Radio listening land, we're wishing you the best in all your trades, and may your portfolio always be green. This is Stock Traders Talk Radio, and we are out.
Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Stock Traders Talk Radio. All views and topics talked about on Stock Traders Talk Radio is solely for entertainment purposes. We are not professional financial advisors and always recommend you seek the advice of a professional financial advisor. Never invest in any stock featured on our show unless you can afford to lose your entire investment. The information contained on our show is based on sources which we believe to be reliable, but is not guaranteed by us as being accurate, and might not be a complete statement or summary of the available data. Stock Traders Talk Radio advises that the investments in companies profiled are commonly considered to be high risk, and use of the information provided is at the investor's sole risk.